Senator Bernie Sanders. He's an independent from Vermont who caucuses with the Democrats. He's the chairman of the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee and a member of the Budget Committee. Senator, great to have you on set here in New Day. Let me ask you this. What's your answer to the basic question of should the president do this?
He should. Look, Chris, this country faces enormous problems. Middle class is disappearing. We have more people living in poverty almost than any time in the history of this country, and massive wealth and income inequality. And what we've seen over the last 6 years is the Republicans doing hundreds and hundreds of filibusters. We passed legislation. We got a majority vote to raise the minimum wage, to do pay equity, to do a jobs program. Republicans filibustered, filibustered, and filibustered. And I think what the president is finally saying, look, immigration is a serious problem. We have got to do something. And if you guys don't do it, and remember, the Senate last year passed a really good immigration bill. What has the House done? Absolutely nothing. So what the president is saying, this country has problems. I'm going to go forward. If you guys pass legislation, I'll rescind the executive order. But do something. Address problems.
Even if it means that by acting unilaterally, he threatens the relationship for any possible compromise. If election day meant that there was some sort of new beginning, that now they will once again be at loggerheads, there could be a government shutdown and all of the other ripple effect.
Threaten compromise. Is that what you said?
Well,
for 6 years, we have trying to get the Republicans to support anything. Look, the Republicans, and I have to say, I am an independent, I'm not particularly partisan, but any objective observer understands they have become a right-wing party, not a center-right party. They have a right-wing base. They have an agenda which does not want to work with the president. And I think what the president is saying, look, we've got problems, we have got to move. So to say that we're going to break the wonderful harmony and working relationship that we've had for 6 years, that did not exist.
Well, not that. It's that they are threatening government shutdown, that they won't work with Democrats or the president if he were to do this.
No, then the American people have to make a choice. If they think that government shutdown is a response to the enormous problems facing this country, look, the American people in poll after poll and on election day said we should raise the minimum wage. Do you hear the Republicans talking about that at all? The American people in poll after poll say women should get paid the same amount of money as men. You hear the Republicans talking about that? American people are disgusted with the Citizens United.
Well, they heard something, though, Senator, because they just voted in the Republicans in a very big way. And I think there's a political calculation here to be made. You're certainly right about that. But there are a lot of lives in the balance. What I don't understand here is that there's an absence of leadership by the party and the president. And the party, I mean the Democratic Party, because you can't play the same game the Republicans are. You don't have the leverage. So you're dealing with the need of these families that are being separated. Everybody should be able to agree that's horrible.
Right.
How does the party that you caucus with and the leader of the country find a way to make that saleable, which should not be so difficult?
Chris, I agree with you. It should not be so difficult. I think the vast majority of the people in this country want immigration reform. We passed it in the Senate. We have kids who were born in this country are going to see a situation, if we don't act with their parents, may be expelled from this country.
And it's happened before.
Right.
Presidents Bush and Reagan both did this. But here's the difference. The difference was that the Congress had been massaged in those two situations in the direction of the ultimate reform. So that when the president signed these executive orders stopping the families from being separated, Congress undid it quickly. They were moving that way. That leadership, that compromise has not been found here.
But, Chris, I don't think it's leadership and I don't think it's compromise. The Republican Party is today a very different party than it was back then. I mean, that's just the simple reality. And, you do pay attention to this every day. Have you heard Republicans talking in a serious way about doing immigration reform? They have not. So the president, again, on all of these issues, he's sitting there and saying, we have problems. We have got to act. And what he has said over and over again is, if you guys pass legislation, I'll rescind the executive orders. Everybody knows executive orders are not the best way to do things. We know that. But you have a party now, I have to say this, which is really recalcitrant in terms of wanting to do much.
Let's talk about something the Republicans do want to get done. That's the Keystone pipeline. The House just approved it. What's the Senate going to do tomorrow?
I hope very much that that we will not provide the 60 votes.
And why? What do you have against the Keystone pipeline?
Well, what the scientific community tells us, virtually unanimously, Allison, is that climate change is real. It is already causing devastating problems. And if we do not transform our energy system away from fossil fuel, this planet is going to face some pretty serious problems. The idea that we would give a green light for the transportation of 800,000 barrels of some of the dirtiest oils in the world makes no sense to me.
I mean, you know, the State Department has done all sorts of environmental impact studies and found that it would have no negative impact.
Yes, I do know that, and they were very faulty studies. What they assumed is that if we killed the pipeline, the oil would come by rail. I don't accept that, and the people who did that study had a prior relationship to TransCanada. Bottom line is, the Republicans talk about this as a jobs program.
Yes.
Do you know how many permanent jobs are going to be created on this?
How many?
35.
Why? Why do you make it so? Because you're defining it very narrowly. It's not just about in the making of the pipeline. It's what this oil will provide as commerce, how it changes our dependence on foreign oil. I mean, there's a lot going on.
There is. But the Republicans refer to this often as a jobs program. There are 35 permanent jobs. If you want a jobs program, it might be a good idea to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, and our rail system, and start creating millions of jobs, not 35 jobs.
Are you running for president?
Well, I'm giving some thought to it. You know, we're going around the country. Taking on the billionaire class and Wall Street and the Koch brothers is not an easy task.
How are you going to get elected president if you take on the billionaire class? Don't you watch the elections?
Well, Chris, I mean, you know, to be very honest with you, we may have reached the tipping point, where candidates who are fighting for the working class and the middle class of this country may not be able to do it anymore because of the power of the billionaire class. That's the simple reality, and I have got to ascertain. If I do it, I want to do it well. If I do it, I know that I will need millions of people engaged in a real grassroots campaign to take on big money and to fight for an agenda, a jobs program, raising the minimum wage, pay equity for women, dealing with climate change, all of these things. And I have to ascertain what kind of support there is out there.
Senator, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for stopping by New Day.
I'm not sure that Vermont accent is going to sell, though, all the way across the country, Senator.
It will. It's charming.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
It's great to have you, Senator. Thanks for taking on the issues. Appreciate it.